This month's Close-Up in Class policy discussion looks at campaign finance and the 2014 elections with our guests, Mark Levine, a former legislative counsel to Representative Barney Frank, and host of a nationally syndicated radio talk show. Mr. Levine frequently appears on Fox, MSNBC, and CNN Headline News. Terry Campo worked for former Presidents Ronald Reagan and George Herbert Walker Bush, and he was a Republican nominee for the 20th District of Illinois in 1991. Mr. Campo is now a private attorney admitted to practice law before the United States Supreme Court. Mark, is political spending a form of free speech that is protected by the First Amendment?
The short answer is yes. The long answer is quite complicated. Does a human being, an individual in the United States, have a right to stand on a street corner and shout whatever he or she wants about the president and Congress? Absolutely. In fact, even foreigners have that right to the most part. The question comes when you have groups of individuals. So do groups of individuals have that right? Still, they do. Associations, for example, the NAACP, the National Rifle Association, they have a right, according to the First Amendment, individuals, humans, have a right to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. So people want to get together for political purposes, the Sierra Club for the environment. I don't like the NRA, but they have a clear constitutional right to exist and advocate on behalf of gun owners. Now, what about corporations? Are they the same things, as Justice Scalia says, as associations? Well, one way to look at them is that associations, people can form associations as they wish. You don't require government permission for you and me and someone else to get together and to march on Washington. We can just do it. All right? There's time, place, and manner restrictions on the First Amendment. You can't necessarily stand in the middle of the street. You can't scream necessarily at 2 a.m. And you can't always tell a lie about someone. I mean, libel and slander laws. But to most part, we can join together. We don't need government permission. We just get together and we speak. Corporations can't do that. Corporations are something called legal fictions. They would not exist but for the government. Every single corporation is a Delaware corporation or a Virginia corporation or a French corporation or a Mongolian corporation. They require a government to even exist. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. And they get special privileges for it. They pay a special tax. But they get this wonderful thing called limited liability. A corporation can pollute the river of West Virginia. 300,000 people can be harmed, and they can walk away scot-free with that limited liability. The people who actually did the pollution get off. Corporations never go to jail. All right. So are legal fictions, do they have First Amendment rights? I think the clear answer is no. The Constitution says in the 14th Amendment who has the privileges and immunities of the Constitution. And it's all persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States. Those are the people that cannot have their privileges or immunities taken away. Well, corporations aren't born. They're not delivered by a mother the way humans are. They're not naturalized. They don't become citizens from another country. They do not have these rights. And so corporations can be given rights by the government, but they have no First Amendment right to be protected.
Political spending enables speech. It's what makes people hear what you have to say. The Buckley versus Vallejo decision in the Supreme Court almost 40 years ago, in 1976, equated spending with speech precisely because it's the only thing that gets your message outside your dinner table or the group of friends around the bar. You know, the origin of the phrase, somebody got up on their soapbox, goes back to Hyde Park in England, where somebody would stand on a wooden soap crate to get people's attention so they could complain about the government. That's today what television advertising, radio advertising is. And so without being able to spend money, you can talk all you want, but you're just going to be some crazy guy shouting in a park in an empty building if you don't have the money to get your message out to people. At the same time, the money that goes to making it possible for people to hear what you have to say doesn't necessarily mean they're going to vote your way. You still have to convince them. So this whole idea that the money that is going into making it possible for people to speak is corrupting the process, sort of assumes that the voter is some sort of mind-numb robot that once they hear some phrase, is like hope and change, is going to go in and vote based upon that phrase that they've heard. And I just don't think that's a realistic, certainly not respectful of the voters.